What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy, and so welcome back to some more Bible reading. Now we've got Genesis chapter 42, as opposed to 41 from the last video. This is pretty much just continuing on with Joseph being in Egypt, overseeing the, season of plenty, followed by the famine. And in that time of famine is where this picks up. But kind of going back to the home front, so to speak, to start this one off. Anyway, let me get a real quick look through how long this one is. Not quite as long as the last chapter, but still, I won't dawdle. I won't just ramble on too much as I go through this. So anyway, chapter 42, starting with verse 1. Here we go. When Jacob heard that grain was available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you standing around looking at one another? I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy enough grain to keep us alive. Otherwise, we'll die." Okay, well, yeah. But this is why I mentioned in the last video that, people from all around coming to Egypt would be significant. Wasn't 100% sure it was this soon, but I knew it was going to come up soon. Anyway. Alrighty, so, verse 3. So Joseph's 10 older brothers went down to Egypt to buy grain. But Jacob wouldn't let Joseph's younger brother Benjamin go with them, for fear some harm might come to him. So Jacob's sons arrived in Egypt along with others to buy food, for the famine was in Canaan as well. So I wonder if that fear of harm coming to Benjamin would have had anything to do with Joseph's fate when he was with his older brothers before, or if that was really just more so, at least, just a general, yeah, that's a pretty long trek. Let's make sure I have at least one son with me so that I don't lose everything all at once. Could have been a mix of both, I guess. But anyway. Alrighty. Verse 6. Since Joseph was governor of all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers came. When they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers instantly, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where are you from?" he demanded. "From the land of Canaan," they replied. "We have come to buy food." So, it's clear that despite Joseph recognizing his brothers maybe didn't really recognize him so much. Which, I mean, it's been at least 2 years. Actually, no. It would have been, because there was the 2 years in between the cupbearer's dream and Pharaoh's dream. And then there was the 7 years of harvest, essentially. The 7 years of plenty before the famine. So it's been at least 9 years, given the time in Potiphar's house, maybe even closer to 10, or add multiple years into the famine, potentially. So, yeah, it's been a while. And depending on how Joseph, I think it said was 17 when his brothers had, sold him off. So, that's a 10-year time span in which, a person's looks can change quite a bit. Anyway, okay. Enough rambling on about that. Verse 8, to my earlier point. Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they didn't recognize him. And he remembered the dreams he'd had about them many years before. He said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become. "No, my lord," they exclaimed. "Your servants have simply come to buy food. We are all brothers, members of the same family. We are honest men, sir. We are not spies." "Yes, you are," Joseph insisted. "You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become." "Sir," they said, "there are actually 12 of us. We, your servants, are all brothers, sons of a man living in the land of Canaan. Our youngest brother is back there with our father right now, and one of our brothers is no longer with us." So, I don't know if this was Joseph's version of a prank, so to speak. Kind of getting back at his older brothers for what they did to him about 10 or so years ago. Or if this is just him, I don't know. But in any case, he's, being extra harsh with them because of his memories, I would imagine. Whether it's, he's actually kind of a little angry with them, or just because he's kind of messing around with them. But of course, they keep trying to, as much as they can, talk their way into earning Joseph's trust. Anyway, verse 14. But Joseph insisted, "As I said, you are spies. This is how I will test your story. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that you will never leave Egypt unless your youngest brother comes here. One of you must go and get your brother. I'll keep the rest of you here in prison. Then we'll find out whether or not your story is true. By the life of Pharaoh, if it turns out that you don't have a younger brother, then I'll know you are spies." So, I mean, I don't know for sure what the reputation of Canaan was at this point. But I mean, obviously there's some possibility of other kingdoms and rulers trying to take advantage of a moment of weakness. But I would imagine, given how much Joseph would have dealt with other people coming in from other places, because it said that the famine was widespread, I would imagine that he didn't really actually have any malicious intent. He was just trying to, I kind of see this as a bit more of a prank on his older brothers, but he's just trying to come up with as good of an excuse as he can for acting like he doesn't trust them. So anyway, verse 17. So Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "I am a God-fearing man. If you do as I say, you will live. If you really are honest men, choose one of your brothers to remain in prison. The rest of you may go home with grain for your starving families. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. This will prove that you are telling the truth, and you will not die." To this they agreed. Speaking among themselves, they said, "Clearly we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. That's why we're in this trouble." "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy?" Reuben asked. "But you wouldn't listen, and now we have to answer for his blood." Interesting that, they are making that connection with what they did all those years ago, but still not able to really recognize Joseph. In any case, so Joseph decides that, he's going to give them some grain to get by, but in order for them to really truly be trusted with more, they're going to have to bring back the younger brother that they spoke of. So, anyway, I don't know if that was part of the discussion of, who would be the one to stay behind. But anyway, verse 23. Of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood them, for he had been speaking to them through an interpreter. Now he turned away from them and began to weep. When he regained his composure, he spoke to them again. Then he chose Simeon from among them and had him tied up right before their eyes. Joseph then ordered his servants to fill the men's sacks with grain, but he also gave secret instructions to return each brother's payment at the top of his sack. He also gave them supplies for their long journey home. So the brothers loaded their donkeys with the grain and headed for home. So, yeah, I mean, I love of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood them. I mean, it's more of of course Joseph understood them, but it's acknowledging that he was speaking through an interpreter, so they didn't know that he knew. So, I guess Joseph at that point, just because of all the time he had spent in Egypt, would have been speaking the Egyptian language to them, and then they would have been speaking Hebrew to him, both going through the interpreter. Anyway, I don't know if it really gives a particular reason that Simeon would have been the brother to get left behind, but whatever. It's not a super important detail, I don't think. But the whole adding the extra stuff in their sacks with the grain is going to come up here eventually. I don't know how soon, but again, soon-ish. Alrighty, verse 27. But when they stopped for the night, and one of them opened his sack to get grain for his donkey, he found his money in the top of his sack. Look, he exclaimed to his brothers, my money has been returned. It's here in my sack. Then their hearts sank. Trembling, they said to each other, what has God done to us? When the brothers came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him everything that had happened to them. The man who was governor of the land spoke very harshly to us, they told him. He accused us of being spies scouting the land. But we said, we are honest men, not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of one father. One brother is no longer with us, and the youngest is at home with our father in the land of Canaan. So they're kind of recounting what happened. But as to the earlier part, their assumption must have been that didn't really look bad. That it didn't look good on their part. Like they had been dishonest because their payment wasn't received by the people of Egypt, by whoever was in charge of giving them the grain. So that was probably the reason that their hearts sank and they asked, what has God done to us? All right. Verse 33. Then the man who was governor of the land told us, this is how I will find out if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take grain for your starving families and go on home. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. Then I will know you are honest men and not spies. Then I will give you back your brother, and you may trade freely in the land. The whole trading freely part wasn't brought up before, but I would assume the whole giving them back their brother, whether or not it was outright said, was implied. Anyway, all right, verse 35. As they emptied out their sacks, there in each man's sack was the bag of money he had paid for the grain. The brothers and their father were terrified when they saw the bags of money. Jacob exclaimed, you are robbing me of my children. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you want to take Benjamin too? Everything is going against me. Then Reuben said to his father, "You may kill my 2 sons if I don't bring Benjamin back to you. I'll be responsible for him, and I promise to bring him back." But Jacob replied, "My son will not go down with you. His brother Joseph is dead, and he is all I have left. If anything should happen to him on your journey, you would send this grieving white-haired man to his grave." So, footnotes, I guess I missed one talking about Jacob also being called Israel, because we've read that multiple times already. And the whole "to his grave" thing, again, the Hebrew says "to Sheol." And that was talked about in a previous video that I did. I forget which one exactly. But it was kind of... It was more than just, oh, you'll... like, this'll kill me. It was more of a, like, you're going to send me into... it was somewhat of an early understanding of hell-ish. But anyway, so... for the same reason that the brothers were, trembling and their hearts sank when they saw what was in one brother's sack. Now when they open all the sacks, Jacob is similarly like, "You didn't even pay for the grain? No way. There's no way, if you're being dishonest like this, that I'm going to trust you with the life of my youngest son." Because part of the reason that he liked Joseph before was that, Joseph was younger. That, Joseph was born to him in his old age. So if Benjamin was even younger, like, similar sentiment going on there probably. But, of course, Reuben, the one who did what he could, essentially, to try to keep Joseph safe and bring him back home, Reuben's the one that is trying to give assurance for, Benjamin staying safe. And going so far as to put his own 2 sons on the line for the sake of Benjamin. But anyway, so that's going to do it for this chapter. Next chapter, as far as I know, is going to continue along with this storyline. In fact, I think this storyline pretty much continues through the end of Genesis. But for now, it's going to be more specifically about, Joseph's brothers and their quest to, provide for the family, and also interacting with Joseph throughout that. Anyway, okay. Enough about that. That's all the more thoughts that I have for the moment. So I guess that's going to do it for now. So as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video and want others to see it as well. Make sure you look down in the description for info on social media pages and how to find and follow those and all that good stuff. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell as well to get updates when I post new videos. The other social media pages also possibly help with updates on when those come out and live stream announcements and that kind of stuff. Also, one last thing, leave comments down below with all the thoughts that you have related to this video or other ideas or whatever you have for me. So yeah, that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I will see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.